Welcome to a heartwarming story that will restore your faith in human kindness and the power of unexpected connections. You're about to discover Single Dad Returned a Lost Wallet. Its owner was a CEO who brought flowers to meet his daughter. An incredible tale of honesty, compassion, and life-changing encounters. Before we begin this beautiful journey, please take a moment to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and activate the notification bell. Your support helps us bring more of these touching real-life stories that remind us how small acts of integrity can transform lives. Now, let's dive into this unforgettable narrative. The November wind whipped through downtown Chicago as David Martinez hurried down Michigan Avenue, his 8-year-old daughter Sophia's hand firmly in his. They'd just finished their Saturday tradition, breakfast at Lou's Diner followed by a trip to the library, and were racing against the darkening sky that promised snow. "Daddy, look!" Sophia stopped abruptly, pointing at something on the sidewalk near a bench. David followed her finger to see a leather wallet lying partially hidden under autumn leaves. It looked expensive, the kind of wallet that came from stores David only walked past, never entered. "Someone dropped their wallet," Sophia said, already bending to pick it up. "Careful, Mika," David said, looking around to see if anyone nearby seemed to be searching for something. The street was busy with Saturday shoppers, but no one appeared distressed or patting their pockets. Sophia handed him the wallet, and David opened it carefully. His eyes widened at the cash inside, several $100 bills, more money than he'd seen in one place in months. His mind immediately went to their overdue electric bill, Sophia's worn winter coat that barely fit anymore, the groceries they'd need for the week. "Is there a lot of money?" Sophia asked, standing on her tiptoes to see. "Yes, baby, there is. We should find whose it is and give it back." David looked down at his daughter, her brown eyes serious and earnest. He thought about their empty refrigerator, about the extra shifts he'd been picking up at the warehouse just to make rent, about all the things this money could fix. But then he saw Sophia watching him, waiting to see what the right thing looked like. He found a driver's license in the wallet, Victoria Chen according to the ID. The address listed was in Lincoln Park, one of Chicago's wealthiest neighborhoods. There were credit cards, platinum and black cards he'd only seen in commercials, and business cards that read, "Victoria Chen, Chief Executive Officer, Chen Industries." David's stomach dropped. Chen Industries was one of the largest logistics companies in the Midwest. He'd actually applied for a job there 6 months ago, though he'd never heard back. "Can we find her?" Sophia asked. David pulled out his phone, Googling Chen Industries. The corporate office was only a few blocks away, in one of the gleaming towers that made up the city's financial district. "It's not far," he said. "Should we go return it?" "Yes," Sophia bounced excitedly. "It's like a quest." David smiled despite his exhaustion. Everything was an adventure to Sophia, even returning lost property. He supposed that was better than her understanding how much they could have used that money. They walked to the Chen Industries building, an imposing structure of glass and steel that stretched toward the grey sky. The lobby was all marble and modern art, with security guards who looked at David's worn jeans and work boots with barely concealed suspicion. "Can I help you?" one guard asked, stepping forward to intercept them. "We found a wallet belonging to Victoria Chen," David said, holding it up. "We wanted to return it." The guard's demeanor changed immediately. "Ms. Chen's wallet? She's been looking everywhere for it. Please wait here, I'll call up to her office." David and Sophia sat on a pristine white bench, Sophia swinging her legs and humming, while David tried not to think about how out of place they looked. His jacket had a tear in the elbow he'd been meaning to mend. Sophia's sneakers had cartoon characters on them, bought from a discount store, nothing like the designer clothes on the other children they'd seen entering the building with their parents. "Mr. Martinez," a woman's voice made him look up. Victoria Chen stood before them, and she was nothing like David had expected. Instead of the severe business suit he'd imagined, she wore jeans and a Stanford University sweatshirt. Her black hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she looked tired but relieved. "You found my wallet?" David stood, pulling Sophia up with him. "Yes, ma'am. It was on the sidewalk near Washington Street." Victoria took the wallet, quickly checking its contents. Her shoulders visibly relaxed. "Everything's here. The money, the cards, everything." "We didn't take anything," Sophia piped up, then looked embarrassed. "I mean, we wouldn't. That's stealing." Victoria knelt down to Sophia's level, a genuine smile transforming her face. "You're absolutely right. And you and your dad are very honest people. Thank you so much. She stood and pulled out some bills from the wallet. Please, let me reward you. No, David said quickly, his pride flaring. We didn't do it for a reward. But you came all this way. It was the right thing to do. That's what I'm teaching my daughter. Right, Sophia? Sophia nodded solemnly. Daddy says integrity means doing the right thing even when no one's watching. Victoria studied them both, something shifting in her expression. That's a very good lesson. How old are you, Sophia? 8 3/4, Sophia said proudly. I'm in 3rd grade. 3rd grade, that's impressive. What's your favorite subject? Science. We're learning about ecosystems. Did you know that everything in nature is connected? Like if bees disappeared, we wouldn't have fruits or vegetables because they pollinate the plants. That's absolutely true, Victoria said, seeming genuinely engaged. You know, we have a program here at Chen Industries where we bring in scientists to talk to kids about environmental science. Would you like to attend sometime? Sophia's eyes went wide. Really? Real scientists? Real scientists, Victoria confirmed, then looked at David. If that's okay with your father, of course. David hesitated. He didn't want charity, but Sophia's excitement was palpable. That's very kind of you. Victoria pulled out a different business card and wrote something on the back. Here's my direct line. Call me this week and we'll set it up. And Mr. Martinez, David, right? I noticed on your jacket. She gestured to the emblem on his work jacket. You work at Patterson Warehouse? Yes, ma'am. 3rd shift supervisor. Did you ever apply to Chen Industries? We work with Patterson and I feel like I've seen your name. David's cheeks colored. 6 months ago, for the logistics coordinator position. Victoria frowned, pulling out her phone and typing something quickly. David Martinez, here you are. Your application was rejected by our automated system because you didn't have a college degree. Yeah, I figured, David said, trying to keep the bitterness out of his voice. But you have 8 years of experience and excellent recommendations, Victoria continued, scrolling through her phone. Our HR system automatically filters out applications without degrees, which is... She paused, looking frustrated. Stupid, frankly. We're probably missing out on qualified candidates. She looked up at him. Would you still be interested in the position? I can arrange a proper interview, bypass the automated system. David's heart raced, but his pride made him hesitate. I don't want a pity interview because I returned your wallet. It's not pity. It's correcting an oversight. Your experience qualifies you. The system just didn't recognize it. But if you're not interested, I'm interested, David said quickly, thinking about Sophia, about their struggles, about the opportunity this could represent. Very interested. Good. My assistant will call you Monday to schedule something. She turned back to Sophia. It was wonderful meeting you, Sophia. You have an excellent father. I know, Sophia said simply, taking David's hand. He's the best daddy in the whole world. Something flickered across Victoria's face, a momentary sadness that she quickly masked with a smile. I'm sure he is. Thank you again, both of you. As they left the building, Sophia was practically skipping. Daddy, that was amazing. She was so nice, and she said I could meet real scientists. David was still processing what had just happened. A job interview at Chen Industries could change everything. The starting salary for that position was nearly double what he made at the warehouse. It would mean regular hours, benefits, a chance to give Sophia a better life. But he was also wary. In his experience, things that seemed too good to be true usually were. Monday came with a call from Victoria's assistant, scheduling an interview for Wednesday afternoon. David arranged for Mrs. Rodriguez, their neighbor, to pick up Sophia from school and stressed over what to wear. His one suit was years old and showed it. You look handsome, Daddy, Sophia assured him Wednesday morning, like the dads on TV who work in offices. The interview was with the head of logistics, a stern man named Richard Park who grilled David about his experience, his ideas for improving supply chain efficiency, his ability to manage teams. David drew on his years at the warehouse, the innovations he'd implemented that had improved their productivity by 15%, the team he'd built and trained. You don't have a degree, Richard said bluntly. No, sir. I started college but had to leave when Sophia was born. Her mother, David paused. I became a single parent and had to work full-time. And you've been at Patterson for 8 years. Yes, sir. Worked my way up from loader to shift supervisor. Richard made notes, his expression unreadable. We'll be in touch. David left feeling deflated. Despite Victoria's intervention, he was sure his lack of formal education would disqualify him. He'd gotten his hopes up for nothing. But Thursday afternoon, his phone rang. "Mr. Martinez, this is Richard Park. We'd like to offer you the logistics coordinator position." David had to sit down. "Really? Your practical experience is exactly what we need. Can you start in 2 weeks?" "Yes." "Yes, absolutely." "Excellent. HR will send over the paperwork. And Mr. Martinez, Ms. Chen wanted me to tell you she's looking forward to having you on the team." David hung up and immediately called Mrs. Rodriguez to see if she could watch Sophia for an extra hour. He needed to buy a bottle of champagne, the cheap kind but still champagne, to celebrate. When he picked up Sophia from Mrs. Rodriguez's apartment, he could barely contain his excitement. "I got the job, mija. The one at the big company." Sophia shrieked and jumped into his arms. "Really? The one from the nice lady?" "Really. This is the best day ever," Sophia declared. "Can we have pizza to celebrate?" "We can have pizza," David agreed, feeling lighter than he had in years. They were at Antonio's Pizza, their special occasion restaurant, when David's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Congratulations on the job. I heard Richard was impressed. Would Sophia still like to attend the science program? It's this Saturday. Victoria." David showed Sophia the text, and she practically bounced out of her seat with excitement. He texted back, "She would love that. Thank you for everything." Victoria responded quickly, "Thank you for reminding me that good people still exist. See you Saturday." Saturday morning arrived grey and cold, with snow beginning to fall. David and Sophia took the bus to Chen Industries, Sophia chattering excitedly about what kind of scientists she might meet. The program was held in a conference room that had been transformed into a mini laboratory. There were microscopes, experiments set up at different stations, and about 15 other children with their parents. Victoria was there, dressed casually in jeans and a blazer, welcoming families. When she saw David and Sophia, her face lit up. "Sophia, I'm so glad you came. Doctor, Kim is going to be leading today's session on marine biology." "Marine biology?" Sophia's eyes widened. "Like oceans and fish and stuff." "Exactly like that." As Sophia ran off to join the other children at a station examining seahorses in a tank, Victoria turned to David. "How's the transition going? Ready to start Monday?" "More than ready. And thank you again. This job changes everything for us." "You earned it," Victoria said firmly. "Richard doesn't hire people he doesn't believe can do the job, regardless of who recommends them." They stood together watching the children, and David noticed Victoria's expression when she watched Sophia enthusiastically raising her hand to answer questions. "She's wonderful," Victoria said softly. "So bright and engaged." "She's my whole world," David replied simply. "Must be nice," Victoria said, then seemed to catch herself. "I mean, it must be challenging too, being a single parent." "It is," David agreed, "but Sophia makes it worth it. Even when things were really tough, she could always make me smile." Victoria was quiet for a moment. "I always wanted children," she said suddenly, then looked embarrassed. "I'm sorry. I don't know why I said that." "It's okay," David said, recognizing the loneliness in her voice. He'd heard it in his own voice often enough. "I was so focused on building the company, proving myself in a male-dominated industry. I kept thinking I had time. Then I woke up one day and I was 42 and alone." She laughed, but it was tinged with sadness. "Listen to me oversharing to a new employee. Very professional." "We're not at work," David pointed out. "And I understand. After Sophia's mum left, I threw myself into being a dad and working. Dating seemed impossible, still does, honestly." Victoria looked at him with surprise. "Sophia's mother left when Sophia was 6 months old. Said she wasn't ready to be a mother, that she'd made a mistake. Signed away her rights and disappeared. Last I heard she was in California, remarried." "I'm sorry." David shrugged. "Sophia and I do okay. We have each other." "Daddy!" Sophia ran over, her face glowing with excitement. "Dr. Kim let me hold a starfish, a real starfish. And did you know they can regrow their arms if they lose one? That's amazing, baby." Sophia turned to Victoria. "Ms. Chen, do you like science too?" "I love science," Victoria said. "I studied engineering in college." "That's so cool. Did you build robots?" Victoria laughed, a genuine sound that transformed her face. A few. Would you like to see the lab where we test some of our automated systems? Can we, Daddy? David looked at Victoria. You don't have to. I want to. If you have time. They spent the next hour touring parts of the building David hadn't seen during his interview. Victoria showed Sophia the automated sorting systems, the robots that helped load trucks, the computer systems that tracked millions of packages. Sophia asked endless questions, which Victoria answered with patience and enthusiasm. David found himself watching Victoria more than the technology, seeing a different side of the CEO who'd seemed so composed and professional before. When they finally left, Sophia was clutching a Chen Industries tote bag filled with science books and company swag that Victoria had insisted she take. Ms. Chen is awesome, Sophia declared as they waited for the bus. She's super smart and nice and pretty. Sophia, David warned, recognizing the matchmaking tone in his daughter's voice. What? She is. And she likes you. She's going to be my boss, Miha. It's not like that. But she smiled at you a lot. And you smiled at her. Adults can be friends without it being romantic. Sophia gave him a look that was far too knowing for an 8-year-old. Okay, Daddy. If you're enjoying this touching story of integrity and unexpected connections, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support means everything and helps us share more of these beautiful, real-life tales. Ring the notification bell to be the first to know when we post our next heartwarming story. David's first week at Chen Industries was overwhelming but exhilarating. The work was challenging, his colleagues were welcoming, and for the first time in years, he felt like he was building something rather than just surviving. He saw Victoria occasionally in meetings or the hallway. She was always professional but warm, asking about Sophia and how he was settling in. Their interactions were brief but left him feeling oddly energized. 2 weeks into the job, David was working late on a supply chain analysis when Victoria knocked on his cubicle wall. Burning the midnight oil already? David looked up, surprised. Ms. Chen, I didn't know anyone else was here. Victoria, please, at least after hours. And I'm always here late. Occupational hazard of having no life outside work. She said it lightly, but David heard the underlying truth. I'm just trying to get up to speed. There's a lot to learn. Victoria looked at his screen, where he'd mapped out a new routing system. This is impressive. Is this for the Milwaukee hub? Yes. I think we could cut delivery times by 12% if we restructure the zones. Victoria pulled up a chair, and they spent the next hour discussing logistics, efficiency, and innovation. David forgot she was the CEO, forgot to be nervous. They were just two people passionate about solving problems. You know, Victoria said finally, I haven't enjoyed talking shop this much in years. Most people tell me what they think I want to hear. You actually push back. Sorry if I overstepped. Don't apologize. It's refreshing. She glanced at her watch. It's almost 9. Have you eaten? I brought a sandwich. A sandwich? Victoria shook her head. No, if we're going to work late, we're going to eat properly. There's a great Thai place that delivers. My treat. They ate pad Thai and spring rolls in the break room, talking about everything except work. Victoria learned that David coached Sophia's soccer team, that he'd taught himself to braid hair from YouTube videos, that he could fix almost anything mechanical. David learned that Victoria had grown up in San Francisco, the daughter of immigrants who'd sacrificed everything for her education, that she'd built her company from nothing, starting with 1 truck and a loan she was still paying off, that she played piano but hadn't touched one in years. Why not? David asked. No time, no point. Playing alone in an empty apartment just emphasizes the alone part. Before David could respond, his phone buzzed. Mrs. Rodriguez, checking if he'd be home soon. I should go, he said reluctantly. Sophia needs to be picked up. Of course. I'm sorry for keeping you. Don't be. This was nice. Victoria smiled. Yes, it was. The next few weeks fell into a pattern. David would work late 2 or 3 nights a week, and Victoria would inevitably appear. Sometimes they'd work together on projects. Sometimes they'd just eat takeout and talk. David found himself looking forward to those evenings more than he should. Victoria was brilliant, funny, and surprisingly vulnerable beneath her CEO exterior. But he was acutely aware of their positions, of the impossibility of anything beyond friendship. Sophia, meanwhile, had become Victoria's biggest fan. Ms. Chen sent me a book about marine biology, she announced one afternoon, showing David the package that had arrived. Another day. Ms. Chen said I could come to the next science program. They're doing chemistry. And, can we invite Ms. Chen to my soccer game? I bet she's never been to one. That last request made David pause. I don't think Ms. Chen has time for soccer games, baby. But she's lonely, Sophia said matter-of-factly. She told me she wished she had a family to do fun things with. When did she tell you this? When you were in the bathroom at the science thing. She asked if we did fun stuff on weekends and looked sad when I told her about our adventures. David's heart ached for Victoria, but he also knew the boundaries that needed to exist. Still, when Sophia asked again the next week, he found himself texting Victoria. Sophia wanted me to invite you to her soccer game Saturday. No pressure. Just thought I'd extend the invitation. Victoria's response was immediate. I'd love to come. What time? Saturday was unseasonably warm for December, the sun making a rare appearance. David spotted Victoria before she saw them, standing uncertainly by the field in designer jeans and boots that were completely inappropriate for the muddy sidelines. Ms. Chen, Sophia ran over in her soccer uniform, beaming. You came. I wouldn't miss it, Victoria said, then held out a small bouquet of flowers. These are for you. For after the game, I read that's a thing people do. Sophia's eyes went wide. Flowers for me? Daddy, look, Miss Chen brought me flowers. David's throat tightened. No one had ever brought Sophia flowers for anything. Such a simple gesture, but it meant everything. They're beautiful, he managed. Sophia, go warm up with your team. The game's starting soon. As Sophia ran off, Victoria turned to him. Was the flowers too much? I wasn't sure about protocol. They're perfect, David said softly. She'll remember this forever. They stood together on the sideline, Victoria asking questions about the rules, cheering when Sophia's team scored, groaning when the opposing team tied it up. This is fun, Victoria said, sounding surprised. I haven't been to anything like this since ever, actually. Not even as a kid. My parents worked constantly. Weekends were for studying or helping at their shop. They sacrificed a lot to give me opportunities. She paused. I sometimes wonder if I sacrificed too much to live up to their sacrifices. David wanted to take her hand but didn't. It's never too late to change the balance. Sophia scored a goal in the second half, and Victoria jumped up and down like any soccer mom, cheering loudly. David laughed at her enthusiasm, and when she turned to him with pure joy on her face, he felt something shift in his chest. He was in trouble. After the game, Sophia insisted Victoria come for their traditional post-game ice cream. They went to Molly's ice cream shop, where Sophia ordered chocolate chip cookie dough. David got mint chocolate chip, and Victoria, after much deliberation, chose strawberry. I haven't had ice cream in years, she admitted. Years? Sophia was aghast. That's basically a crime. Sophia, David warned. What? It is. Ice cream is one of life's essential food groups. Victoria laughed. What are the others? Pizza, tacos, Mrs. Rodriguez's empanadas and vegetables, but only because Daddy makes me say that. They sat outside despite the chill, Sophia regaling Victoria with stories from school, soccer, and her extensive plans for winter break. We're going to make a snowman if it snows and have hot chocolate every day, and watch all the Home Alone movies in order, Sophia announced. That sounds perfect, Victoria said wistfully. Sophia looked at David, then at Victoria, then made a decision that only 8-year-olds can make with such confidence. You should join us. Right, Daddy? Sophia, you said Ms. Chen was lonely. She could watch movies with us. David's face burned. Sophia, that's not... Ms. Chen has her own plans. Actually, Victoria said quietly, I don't. I usually work through the holidays. My parents are traveling this year, visiting family in Taiwan. Sophia seized on this immediately. Then it's settled. You'll spend winter break with us. That's very sweet, Sophia, but please. Sophia deployed her most powerful puppy dog eyes. It would be so fun. Daddy makes the best hot chocolate, and we have lots of blankets for movie watching, and I could show you my rock collection. Victoria looked at David helplessly. He should say no, should maintain professional boundaries, should protect both of them from complications. Instead, he said, You're welcome to join us for any of it. No pressure, but the invitation's open. Victoria's smile was answer enough. The week before winter break, the office was buzzing with holiday preparations. David had signed up to help with the company holiday party, partly because it showed team spirit, and partly because it meant overtime pay that would help with Sophia's Christmas presents. He was hanging decorations in the main conference room when Victoria found him. You know we have people for this, right? She said, amused. I don't mind. Sophia helped me practice. Apparently my garland-hanging technique needed work. Victoria laughed, then grabbed a strand of lights. Show me this technique. They worked together, transforming the sterile conference room into something festive. Other employees stopped in surprise seeing their CEO on a ladder, hanging ornaments, but Victoria didn't seem to care. I haven't decorated for the holidays in years, she admitted. My apartment doesn't even have a tree. That's sad, David said without thinking, then caught himself. Sorry, I didn't mean… No, you're right, it is sad. She stepped down from the ladder. Can I ask you something? Sure. Sophia's invitation for the holidays. Was that really okay with you? I don't want to intrude. David set down the decorations and looked at her. Really looked at her. Victoria, you brought my daughter flowers for her soccer game. You sent her science books. You text me to make sure she's okay when I work late. You're not intruding, you're part of our lives now. Victoria's eyes glistened. I am? If you want to be. I do, she said quickly. More than you know. They stood there, surrounded by half-hung decorations, something unspoken hanging between them. Then Richard Park walked in, breaking the moment. Ms. Chen, the Beijing office is on line 3. Victoria straightened, CEO mode returning. I should take that. David, thank you for your help with the decorations. She was gone before he could respond, leaving him to wonder what might have happened if Richard hadn't interrupted. The first day of winter break, Chicago delivered a perfect snowstorm. Sophia woke David at dawn, already dressed in her snow gear. It's snowing. Can we build our snowman? Can we call Miss Chen? David checked his phone to find Victoria had already texted. Sophia mentioned something about snowman building today. Is the invitation still open? He responded, always. But fair warning, Sophia takes snowman construction very seriously. Victoria arrived an hour later in brand new snow boots and a coat that still had tags hastily removed. She also brought carrot noses, buttons, and multiple scarves. I may have gone overboard at the store, she admitted sheepishly. Sophia was delighted. This is perfect. We can make a whole snow family. They spent the morning in the small park near David's apartment, building not just one snowman, but 3. A snow family, Sophia insisted, with a mom, dad, and kid. The kid needs to be doing something fun, Sophia declared, positioning the smallest snowman's stick arms to look like it was dancing. David noticed Victoria watching them with an odd expression. You okay? More than okay, she said softly. I'm happy. Really, genuinely happy. I'd forgotten what that felt like. That afternoon they went back to David's apartment for hot chocolate and movies. The apartment was small but cozy, decorated with paper snowflakes Sophia had made and a modest Christmas tree covered in homemade ornaments. I love your place, Victoria said, surprising David. It feels like a home. It's not much. It's everything, Victoria interrupted. There's love here, you can feel it. They watched Home Alone, Sophia sandwiched between them on the couch, providing running commentary. When Sophia fell asleep halfway through the second movie, her head on Victoria's shoulder, David saw Victoria's eyes fill with tears. She trusts you, he said quietly. She's amazing. You've done an incredible job raising her. I've made plenty of mistakes. But you were there. You stayed. You loved her enough to be both parents. Victoria's voice was thick with emotion. She's lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you in our lives too, David said without thinking. Victoria looked at him, and for a moment the air between them crackled with possibility. Then Sophia stirred, mumbling something about needing more popcorn, and the moment passed. But not the feeling. That lingered. Christmas Eve arrived with another snowfall and a problem. Mrs. Rodriguez, who was supposed to watch Sophia while David worked his half shift, called in sick. I'm so sorry, mijo, she coughed over the phone. This flu came out of nowhere. David was trying to figure out if he could bring Sophia to work when his phone rang. Victoria. I know this is last minute, but I was wondering if you and Sophia had plans for Christmas Eve dinner. I have this huge ham and no one to share it with. Actually, I have a favor to ask, David said, explaining the situation. I'll watch her, Victoria said immediately. Better yet, bring her here. We'll cook dinner for when you get home. Victoria, you don't have to… I want to, please. So David dropped Sophia off at Victoria's apartment, a penthouse that looked like it belonged in a magazine. Sophia's eyes were huge as she took in the floor-to-ceiling windows, the pristine white furniture, the kitchen that was bigger than their entire apartment. Don't touch anything, David whispered to Sophia. She can touch whatever she wants, Victoria said. Things are just things. Besides, this place could use some life. When David returned 4 hours later, the penthouse had been transformed. Paper snowflakes hung from the ceiling. Christmas music played softly. The smell of ham and fresh cookies filled the air, and in the kitchen, Sophia and Victoria were covered in flour, laughing as they decorated sugar cookies. "Daddy, we made dinner, and cookies, and Miss Victoria let me play her piano." "You have a piano?" David asked, surprised. Victoria nodded toward a corner where a beautiful grand piano sat. "Haven't played it in years, but Sophia convinced me. She's actually got a good ear." They ate dinner at Victoria's massive dining table that she admitted had never been used before. Sophia chattered about their day, the cookies they'd made, the carols Victoria had taught her on the piano. After dinner, while Sophia was in the bathroom, Victoria handed David an envelope. "What's this?" "Open it." Inside were 3 tickets to Disney World for spring break. "Victoria, no, this is too much. Please," she said. "I want to do this. For Sophia, for both of you. We can't accept this." "Then come with me," Victoria said in a rush. Let me come with you. I've never been to Disney World. I could use guides." David stared at her. "You want to come to Disney World with us? I want to be part of your lives. Really part of them, if you'll let me." Before David could respond, Sophia bounded back in. "What are we talking about?" David looked at Victoria, then at his daughter. "How would you feel about Miss Victoria coming to Disney World with us for spring break?" Sophia's scream of joy was answer enough. She launched herself at Victoria, hugging her tightly. "This is the best Christmas ever." Over Sophia's head, Victoria met David's eyes. "Thank you," she mouthed. "Thank you," he mouthed back. Later, as they were leaving, Sophia asleep in David's arms, Victoria walked them to the door. "David, I need to tell you something." He waited. "I'm falling in love with your daughter," she said. And with you. I know it's complicated with work, and if you don't feel the same way, we can pretend I never said anything." David shifted Sophia to one arm and used his free hand to cup Victoria's cheek. "I've been falling for you since you knelt down to talk to Sophia that first day. But are you sure? We're a package deal, and it's not always easy." "I don't want easy," Victoria said. "I want real. I want Sunday morning pancakes and soccer games and homework help and all of it." David kissed her then, soft and sure, a promise of things to come. When they pulled apart, Victoria was smiling through tears. "Is this really happening?" "Yeah," David said, smiling back. "I think it is." Sophia stirred in his arms, opening one eye. "Finally," she mumbled. "Took you guys long enough." They all laughed, and David realized that sometimes the best things in life came from simple acts of honesty, like returning a lost wallet to its owner. New Year's Eve found them at Victoria's penthouse again, but this time it felt less like a magazine and more like a home. Sophia's artwork decorated the refrigerator. A pair of David's work boots sat by the door. Victoria had even bought a special step stool so Sophia could reach the kitchen counter. 10 minutes to midnight," Sophia announced, wearing a sparkly hat Victoria had bought her. "Someone's going to crash before midnight," David predicted, seeing Sophia stifle a yawn. "No way. I'm staying up this year." Victoria emerged from the kitchen with sparkling cider for their toast. She'd changed so much in the past month. Her smiles came easier, her laugh more frequent. The loneliness that had clouded her eyes was gone. 5 minutes, Sophia shouted, then quieter. "Ms. Victoria." "Yes, sweetie. Are you going to be our family now?" Victoria looked at David, who nodded encouragingly. "If you'll have me," Victoria said carefully. "Good," Sophia said decisively. "Because I already told everyone at school, you're basically my mum." Victoria's hand flew to her mouth, tears starting. "Sophia," David started. "What?" "It's true. She comes to my games, helps with homework, makes me dinner. That's mum stuff." "Is that okay?" Victoria asked, kneeling down to Sophia's level. "Me doing mum stuff?" Sophia hugged her tightly. "It's perfect." The countdown began on TV. 10, 9, 8. David pulled both of them close. "Ready for a new year?" "Ready for our new life," Victoria corrected. 3, 2, 1. As fireworks exploded over the Chicago skyline, David kissed Victoria while Sophia cheered and banged pots and pans. It was loud and chaotic and perfect. "I love you," Victoria said against his lips. I love you too, David replied. I love everyone, Sophia shouted, making them laugh. 3 months later, spring break arrived with a trip to Disney World that exceeded all expectations. Victoria, who'd never been to a theme park, was as excited as Sophia. She wore mouse ears without irony, screamed on Space Mountain, and cried when Sophia hugged Mickey Mouse. Thank you for this, David said as they watched the fireworks over Cinderella's castle, Sophia on his shoulders. Thank you for letting me be part of it, Victoria replied, leaning into him. Miss Victoria, Sophia said from her perch, when you and Daddy get married, can we live in a house with a yard? I want a dog. David nearly choked. Sophia! But Victoria just laughed. When we get married, you can have 2 dogs. When? David asked, raising an eyebrow. When? Victoria confirmed. Unless you have objections. No objections here. Sophia cheered so loudly that several families turned to look at them, but David didn't care. He was standing in the happiest place on earth with the 2 people who made him happiest. Life didn't get better than this. 6 months later, they were married in a simple ceremony in the park where they'd built their first snowman family. Sophia was the flower girl and ring bearer, taking both jobs very seriously. Mrs. Rodriguez cried through the entire ceremony. Richard Park was David's best man, having become a surprising friend. Victoria had offered to help David find a different job to avoid any appearance of favoritism, but Richard had vetoed that immediately. You're the best logistics coordinator we've had in years, he'd said. I'm not losing you because you fell in love with the boss. We'll manage the optics. They'd moved into a house in Oak Park, not huge but perfect for them, with a yard where Sophia could play and room for the 2 rescue dogs they'd adopted. Victoria had cut back her hours, promoting Richard to COO to handle more of the day-to-day operations. I spent 20 years building a company, she told David. Now I want to build a family. Their wedding reception was held at Chen Industries, with employees and Sophia's entire soccer team in attendance. Walter Kim, the scientist from the children's program, gave a toast about how Victoria had changed since meeting David and Sophia. She was brilliant before, he said, but now she's brilliant and happy. That makes all the difference. Sophia gave her own toast, which was mostly about how excited she was to finally have a mom, and also about the dogs, but it left not a dry eye in the house. A year ago, David said in his groom's speech, I found a wallet on the sidewalk. I almost didn't pick it up. Sophia insisted we had to help. She was right, as she usually is. That wallet didn't just belong to anyone. It belonged to the woman who would complete our family. He turned to Victoria. You always say I changed your life, but you changed ours. You showed us that family isn't just about blood. It's about choosing to show up, to care, to love, even when it's scary. Thank you for choosing us. Victoria was crying too hard to give her prepared speech, so she just said, I love you both more than all the stars in the sky. That's a lot of stars, Sophia pointed out. We learned about galaxies in science class. Everyone laughed, and the party continued late into the night. 1 year later, they stood in that same park, building snowmen again. But this time, Victoria was carefully sitting on a bench, her hand on her growing belly. The baby's kicking, she called out. Sophia ran over and placed her hand on Victoria's stomach. Hi, baby brother. We're building you a snowman. They'd found out the week before, a boy, healthy and active. Sophia had immediately begun planning all the things she would teach him. I'm going to be the best big sister ever, she declared. I'll teach him soccer and science and how to make the perfect snowman. He's lucky to have you, David said, kissing the top of her head. We're all lucky, Victoria added, pulling them both close. As snow began to fall again, dusting their hair and coats, David thought about the journey that had brought them here. A lost wallet, a moment of honesty, a choice to do the right thing. Such small acts, but they'd built a life on them. Daddy, Sophia said, tell baby brother the story about how you met Mommy. Victoria smiled. You mean how Daddy found my wallet and returned it because he's the most honest person in the world, Sophia added proudly. And you insisted we had to help, David reminded her. And Mommy brought me flowers, Sophia continued. And we all lived happily ever after, Victoria finished, though it wasn't an ending. It was a continuing story, one they were writing together day by day. As they walked home, Sophia between them, holding both their hands and chattering about baby names, David caught Victoria's eye over their daughter's head. No regrets, he asked, echoing a question she'd asked him months ago. Only one, Victoria said. David's heart stuttered. What? That I didn't lose my wallet sooner. He laughed, and Sophia demanded to know what was funny, and they tried to explain but ended up in a snowball fight instead, their laughter echoing through the park. Later, warming up with hot chocolate in their living room, Sophia asleep on the couch and the dogs curled at their feet, David and Victoria sat watching the snow fall outside their window. "Do you think Sophia knows?" Victoria asked suddenly. "Knows what?" "That she's the one who really brought us together. Her insistence on returning the wallet, her invitation to include me, her pure heart that saw we needed each other before we saw it ourselves." David considered this. "Maybe. She's pretty smart for a 9-year-old. She's pretty smart, period," Victoria corrected. Then quieter, "I hope the baby is like her. Kind, curious, and stubborn as a mule?" "Exactly like that." David pulled her closer. "You know what I think? I think Sophia's been teaching us all along about integrity, about kindness, about taking chances on people. About love," Victoria added, "especially about love." They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that comes from knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be, with exactly who you're supposed to be with. "David?" "Next time you find a wallet, check with me first. I don't think we have room for another spouse." He laughed so hard he woke Sophia, who sleepily demanded to know what was funny. When they tried to explain, she just shook her head. "Adults are weird," she declared, then snuggled between them and fell back asleep. Outside, Chicago continued its endless motion. Millions of people living their lives, facing their challenges, making their choices. But inside this house, with its rescued dogs and expectant parents and wise child, everything was still and perfect. All because once upon a time a single dad chose to return a lost wallet, and its owner brought flowers to meet his daughter. 5 years later, David stood in the same spot where he'd first found Victoria's wallet, this time with both his children. Sophia, now 14 and taller than Victoria, held the hand of 5-year-old Samuel, who had David's eyes and Victoria's determination. "This is where it all started," David told Samuel for the 100th time. "Because you found Mommy's wallet," Samuel recited. "And you were honest." "That's right, buddy. Dad, you tell this story literally every time we pass here," Sophia said, but she was smiling. "It's an important story," David defended. "It's our origin story. We're not superheroes, Dad, aren't we?" Victoria appeared behind them, having parked the car. "I think we're pretty super." She was CEO of a much larger company now, having merged Chen Industries with 2 other firms, but she never missed Saturday family time. The company was famous for its family-first policies, inspired by their CEO's own journey. "Can we get ice cream?" Samuel asked, bouncing on his toes. "After lunch," Victoria said automatically. "But Mum, your dad let you have cookies for breakfast, no more sugar until real food." "Snitch," David muttered to Samuel, who giggled. They walked to Lou's diner, their old traditions still strong. The owner, Lou himself, greeted them warmly. "The Martinez-Chen family, your usual table?" As they settled in, Sophia pulled out her phone to text her friends. Samuel colored on his placemat, and David and Victoria just watched their family with contentment. "Remember when it was just the 2 of us?" David asked Sophia. "Our Saturday tradition. Before Mom made everything fancy," Sophia teased. "Excuse me, I did not make everything fancy. I made everything better," Victoria corrected. "You made everything complete," David said, taking her hand. "Gross," Sophia said, but she was smiling. "Mommy and Daddy are being mushy again," Samuel announced to the entire diner. "Always," Victoria confirmed, kissing David. After lunch they walked through the city, Samuel on David's shoulders, Sophia and Victoria discussing her upcoming science fair project. They passed Chen Industries, where a banner announced their latest community program, college scholarships for children of single parents. "That's going to help a lot of kids," Sophia said proudly. "Just like someone helped us," David reminded her. "No one helped us," Sophia corrected. "We helped each other. That's different." Victoria hugged her stepdaughter, though no one used the step anymore. Sophia had started calling her mom when Samuel was born, saying it was too confusing otherwise, but they all knew it was because that's what Victoria had become. As they walked, David's phone buzzed with a news alert. Chen Industries CEO Victoria Martinez-Chen named Business Person of the Year. "Congratulations," he said, showing her the screen. Victoria barely glanced at it. "That's nice." Nice. It's a huge honor. You know what's a huge honor? Victoria asked. Samuel's preschool teacher said he shared his lunch with a classmate who forgot theirs yesterday, without being asked. That's my boy, David said proudly. And Sophia got the highest grade on her biology test, Victoria continued. Mom, that's not... And my husband still leaves me love notes in my lunch bag even after 6 years of marriage. You found those? David blushed. I keep every one. They ended up back at the park with the snowmen, though it was spring now and flowers were blooming where snow had been. Samuel ran to the playground while Sophia sat on a bench, pretending to be too cool for playgrounds, but watching her brother protectively. Do you ever think about if you hadn't picked up that wallet? Victoria asked David. Never, David said firmly. Because I would have. Maybe not for the money, maybe not even for the integrity lesson for Sophia, but something would have made me pick it up. How do you know? Because we were meant to find each other. If it wasn't the wallet, it would have been something else. The universe would have kept trying until we got it right. That's very romantic for a logistics coordinator. Senior Director of Logistics, David corrected. My mistake, Senior Director. Sophia called out from the bench, Mom, Dad, Samuel's stuck on the monkey bars. They ran to help their son, Victoria steadying him while David guided his hands. When Samuel finally made it across, his triumph was celebrated like an Olympic victory. I did it. Did you see? I did it all by myself. We saw, baby, Victoria said, hugging him tight. I'm not a baby. I'm 5. You'll always be my baby, Victoria said, then caught Sophia's eye. Both of you will. Even when I'm 30? Sophia asked. Especially then. As the sun began to set, they headed home. Samuel fell asleep in the car, Sophia sang along to the radio, and David and Victoria held hands over the center console. Good day? David asked. Perfect day, Victoria confirmed. Just like every day with you 3. Now who's being mushy? Always, Victoria said, echoing her earlier response. Always and forever. At home, their dogs, now 3 after Samuel had convinced them to adopt a puppy, greeted them enthusiastically. The house was lived-in chaos, Sophia's science projects, Samuel's art covering the walls, dog toys everywhere, and at the center of it all, a photo from their wedding day with Sophia grinning between them. Family meeting, Sophia suddenly announced. About what? David asked suspiciously. I've been thinking, Sophia began seriously, about our story. About how Dad found Mom's wallet. Here we go, Victoria muttered fondly. I think we should write it down, like officially, so Samuel and his kids and their kids will know how it all started. That's a beautiful idea, Victoria said. I'll help, Samuel said, suddenly awake. I can draw pictures. And I'll write it, Sophia said. And Mom can edit because she's good at that stuff. And Dad can make sure we get all the details right. A family project, David said. I love it. They spent the evening at the kitchen table, Sophia writing, Samuel drawing, Victoria suggesting edits and David providing details. The dogs lay at their feet and music played softly in the background. How should it start? Sophia asked. Once upon a time, Samuel suggested. It's not a fairy tale, Sophia said. Isn't it though? Victoria asked. It has all the elements. A lost item, an honest hero, a successful but lonely woman, a wise child, and a happy ending. Happily ever after, Samuel corrected. Happily ever continuing, David amended. Because our story isn't over. It keeps getting better. Sophia began writing. On a cold November day in Chicago, a single father and his daughter found a wallet on the sidewalk. That one moment of choosing honesty over need, of doing right when no one was watching, changed 3 lives forever. 4 lives, Samuel protested. I'm in the story too. You're the sequel, Sophia told him. The best sequel, Victoria added, ruffling his hair. As they worked on their family story, David looked around the table at his family, the one he'd built, the one that had found him, the one that continued to grow and evolve, all from a simple choice to do the right thing. Hey, Victoria, he said suddenly. Yeah? Thanks for losing your wallet. She laughed, that bright sound that still made his heart skip. Thanks for finding it. Thanks for both of you finding each other, Sophia added without looking up from her writing. Yeah, Samuel agreed, though he was mostly focused on drawing what appeared to be a dinosaur finding a wallet. Outside, Chicago sparkled with lights, millions of stories unfolding. But inside this house, their story. the one that started with a wallet on a sidewalk and a choice to be honest, continued to be written one day, one moment, one act of love at a time. And it was perfect. Not because it was without challenges or struggles, but because it was real, it was theirs, and it had taught them all the most important lesson. Sometimes, the smallest acts of integrity can lead to the greatest rewards. Not money or success, but family, love, and a life filled with purpose. The wallet had been found and returned, but what David had really found that day was so much more. He'd found his future, his partner, his family's missing piece. And Victoria had found what she'd been searching for without knowing it: a home, a family, and two people who needed her as much as she needed them, all because a single dad returned a lost wallet and its owner brought flowers to meet his daughter. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful journey of integrity, unexpected love, and the power of family. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing these incredible true stories that remind us of the goodness in humanity. Hit that notification bell to be the first to know about our next inspiring tale. Remember, every act of honesty, no matter how small, has the potential to change lives in ways we never expect. Keep choosing integrity, keep spreading kindness, and keep believing in the power of human connection. Until next time, may your own story be filled with unexpected blessings and beautiful surprises.